Hello, YouTube reseller mom here with Tina.
Hi
Good
there.
evening, Tina. And I want to welcome you to today's video. Today we are filming in the evening. It's Saturday evening, June 11th, 2022. And today we are going to talk about IP complaints, kind of what to look for, what comes in, and then I have a bunch of solutions for you as well. And all of the solutions and topics and things, all of those links are going to be down below. Now we are recording this and it's going to my channel and Tina's channel. So, if you don't already follow Tina, you need to go over and subscribe to her channel because she does other content as well that is amazing. So we've got slides set up today and we're just going to roll through them and talk about kind of the different ways, because I see this a lot. It's probably the number one question, one of the number one questions I see out there on Facebook groups is, oh my gosh, how do I avoid an IP complaint? How do I check for an IP complaint? What do I do if I get one? Wouldn't you agree, Tina?
Yeah, and they're always scary when you get them.
Mm-hmm.
My first ones, I would lose sleep over it at night. Now I get them,
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'll deal with it tomorrow. I mean, because obviously I've had enough of them now that I know that you can relax and you don't have to get anxious with them right away. But yes, they are part of selling on Amazon.
And they come in so many different forms, and so that's the
Mhm.
that's the problem. I see people answering conflicting answers, and the reason they're
Yes,
conflicting is because they are going to be conflicting depending on how you get them.
yes.
So that is what we're going to dive into first, and then I'm going to give you some ways to combat them. The first one is if they email you. Now we're going to talk about two ways to email real quick. One is within Amazon Messenger system, and one
Yes,
is outside of Messenger system.
yes.
So this one I got the other day. This is actually one of mine. I got that this week because I'm selling a bunch of games. And this one's from US Opoly. I assume they do Monopoly and all of those things. And this is what an email is going to look like. Now, sometimes it goes to my Amazon Prime account, sometimes my business account, and sometimes I have another email that sometimes they've tracked me down and sent things there too. So this is what that email looks like. And, people get these emails and they're like, well, what do I do? What do I do?
Yeah.
Well, you got to ask yourself some questions. And I'm going to assume that you have this product for sale in your inventory. And the first thing is, do you have a valid invoice? If you have a valid invoice, ignore them. Ignore them. If you've bought from a reputable manufacturer or distributor and they're trying to email you, just ignore them flat out.
Mhm.
The other thing I want to say about that email is, did it really come from the company? So that'd probably be your first step, assuming it's a real one. But you'd be surprised at how many fake emails you get out there from third-party sellers or from just, I don't know, people out there that want to limit the competition that
Yes.
will
And when
email.
I think an email looks sketchy and I'm curious, I
Mhm.
will copy and paste it into Google. And
Mhm.
sometimes you'll see that there's lots of threads that will pop up about it being a fake email. And that does happen.
Yeah. It could be fake email. So
Mhm.
assuming it is a real email from the company and you really do have this product for sale in your inventory, if you have a valid invoice, you can delete or ignore. The other common thing that I would say is to respond and set yourself up as an authorized reseller if you can.
Mhm.
If you have a legit business and you meet whatever criteria they want to do, go ahead and respond to them and let them know I bought it from this distributor, this manufacturer, this is my business location. I sell games or whatever you want to do. Go ahead and contact them to set that up because you want to make sure you're on their good list, their white
Mhm.
list, and not on their naughty list. Now, let's say you only have a receipt and or you don't have anything. Um, for IP complaints, it used to be that receipts would work. And these days, receipts are not really working for IP complaints. You have to get a retraction or have an invoice. So receipts will work for other things, but legit IP complaints from the brand, they're not really working these days.
Mhm.
So if you don't have a receipt or you don't have anything, I typically just delete the listing and sell the item on eBay. That's kind of my go-to, because a lot of the items that I get, if I get any of these emails, it's not worth it to me. It's like $2 profit and not worth my time. I just recall and delete it out of the inventory, sell it over on eBay, and move on with my day, because it's not worth the headache, the hassle, and possible further problems with it. I did plug in there that if you are in the NARF program like myself, I need to go remember to delete it off of Canada and Mexico. So don't forget that step. When you delete something off your American account, it does not delete it off of your other accounts.
Right.
And then if you still want to sell it and you don't want to delete the item, my suggestion is to search Google, Facebook forums. I'm going to provide some of those to see if the company is kind of more bark or bite. And then the other kind of common thing that I do is get the price as low as I want to go to sell out, and just sell it within the next 72 hours, delete it, and then move on with my day. The other thing with those is sometimes they send you warnings. They're like, this is your first warning. Okay, I know you're going to give me at least 3 warnings, so I got probably 2 weeks to sell this item. Which is probably not what they want me to think, but
And a lot of times, even though these companies aren't going through the proper channel when they're just sending you an email, sometimes it's
Mhm.
because they don't know how, and they're
Mhm.
going to figure it out.
They will.
And this is when it is legitimately coming from the company. I'm not
Mhm.
talking about third-party sellers trying to, infringe on your account. Um, and so sometimes it is better to just reach out to them. I've done like you, and I've just reached out to them and, hey, look, and work something out with the companies. A lot of people just tell you ignore it and delete it, and I have done that too. But it
Mhm.
just really depends what the item is, how badly I want to sell it, how much of it I have in stock. But these types of warnings are definitely nothing to be as worried about, because it's not through Amazon's portals.
Yeah. I tell you, my mode of what to do is going to vary on how I receive that
Yeah,
complaint and how much money I have tied up for it.
yeah,
If I have valid invoices and I have $4,000 worth of that stuff in there, that's going to be a much bigger deal to me than if it's something I got at TJ Maxx and I can make $5 off of it.
yeah,
It's value your time and
yeah.
your frustrations over it, because some items are really just not worth the headache at all. Oops, whoa, hello. Sorry, my mouse just was a little touchy there. This is another email that you may get that I see a lot of people looking about, and they're like, oh my gosh, what about the gate? It's not really an IP issue, but I tossed it into this video because these have been going out a lot right now.
Mhm.
It's June. I've seen a ton of these. I think I've received probably 5 or 6 in the last month. But if you get this email in your email, the brand is locking down, and that could be a warning that they are going through the process of getting brand registered or trying to curb third-party sellers on Amazon's site. This
Mhm.
one's for Compass 360. I'll show you what those do in a minute. But what you want to do with these is just make note of it. If you have a lot of products, you might all of a sudden be gated in it. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes you are. And know that going forward, maybe you don't want to source these without valid invoices, and kind of see how the company does.
Yeah.
I know I received this for Crocs when Crocs locked down, and then shortly after Crocs started issuing IP complaints that I saw that other people were getting, but it could be an early warning sign. So what do? I go over, and first I needed to see what the product was. It's fishing, what are those called? Waders. It's waders, and it probably had some shirts or pants or something that I had sold at one time, but it wasn't anything that was noteworthy for what I'm sourcing these days. And then if you hit show variations, did I take that? Yeah, show variations. Right here, you can see that I still am able to sell those items. So I did get this letter, and I went and checked, and I can still sell them. So you
Yeah.
do get these, and really there's nothing other than checking to make sure I can still sell them and I don't need to get ungated for something important. I move
Yeah.
on with my day. All right. Now let's talk about getting a message through the messenger, because messenger messages can be a little bit more intimidating, wouldn't you think? Do you get a little bit more
Yes.
worried?
Yeah, because when they're coming through Amazon, I definitely am like, okay, this one's more serious.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, this one in particular was kind of a joke.
hmm
Our brand is under protection of Amazon. You better stop your violation at once. I believe that you know what will happen. Do
Yeah.
not trouble yourself. Thank you for your understanding.
Sometimes I so badly want to write these back, which I never do. I always
Mm.
ignore them, but sometimes just for fun, I want to write something really quite funny and witty back.
Oh, yeah. I know what will happen to you, Tina. But the difference with this one versus the US Opoly is I did validate the US Opoly. It was US Opoly or USA Opoly or whatever the heck it is. And they are, that was a legit email.
Yeah.
I really don't think Michelle.
Right. That was the first flag that this one's not serious.
Yes. And they're going through an improper channel. So for Amazon the only legit IP claims go through your account health and your notifications, your policy notifications. That's the only legit way in Amazon's eyes to issue an IP complaint.
That's right.
But sometimes companies will give you kind of little warnings before going that route. And this one, yeah, I just report. Down here, you can see here, report
Well,
message.
I have had legit companies reach out to me this way, but
Yeah.
you can see it's coming from the legit company. Their grammar and the message they're sending you is much more professional.
Oh, yeah.
So you can tell. You can definitely weed them out.
And sometimes they'll just attach the letter, attach an official letter here.
Mhm.
I believe that's where it goes right there, where it says. And then I always mark it, no response needed. And I report these types of messages because that's
Same.
clearly somebody just trying to get me off the listing, which is not valid. I mean,
Right.
I could go to all the listings and tell people, get off the listing. You know what will happen to you. But yeah, I don't do that.
I will price take this listing.
Yeah.
You lose all your money.
I would love to do that. So all of these messages are recorded from Amazon. So speaking of that, if you try to negotiate prices or do things and it gets reported through this, all of these are records on Amazon. So you don't want want to have any written what do you call it? Evidence. You want no
That's right.
evidence.
Anything can be used against you in the court of law. So
exactly. And Amazon's court of law is not fun.
very, yeah.
It's a more wild west than an actual justice system, but there we go. So for these, report message, no response needed, and move on with your day. Now they could try to cause trouble, but yeah, they're not really going to be able to do anything. This is just called a scare tactic.
Yes.
Now this message, I took this off of somebody that posted in, I think it was Hustle Buddies or something, but just because they had a letter, they had the image handy for this week. But I have received these before too. And what's funny is I promote or talk about Ed Rosenberg's YouTube and Facebook, which I will mention in this video as well. And I've gotten 3 messages from his firm this let's see, March and April. This is your first notice, this is your second notice, and Vora's. I've had a Vora's before. They say you're not a real seller until you've had a Vora's letter.
I got my first one this last year, and I've been selling a long time, so I guess I'm finally a real seller.
If I had not thrown it in the trash, I should have framed it and put it on my wall at work. That would have been fun.
I put mine in the filing cabinet.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I have mine.
Maybe I did that. I'll have to look. So if you get a letter in the mail, which is at all possible a chance, and now that all my Amazon mail goes to my UPS or my PO box, I received 3 warning messages from Ed, and they all went to the box, and I didn't. I was in the middle of moving my office, so.
So did you tell him in Facebook group that he sent you 3 letters?
No, I'm not bringing any attention to myself. Heck no. I'm not going to be like, hey, I ignore your letters. Yeah, no, he's a lawyer, and And at the end of the day, he works for whatever brand is paying his bills. And he's
Yeah.
got to put food on the table and gas in the tank. No, but and I'm not buddies with him or anything like that. I just he is very predominant in our industry. So you may get these letters, and just like the emails, you kind of got to see what's going on with them. Do you have a valid invoice? Is it a company you want to go toe to toe with? You know, how do you want to take this on? You've got to weigh that risk for every single one of these. First, see if it's real, then weigh the risks.
Right.
Come on. All right. Now let's get into some solutions, because I love just talking about solutions. We got so many problems, and that just bothers me when people just talk about problems and never the solutions.
Yeah, we need to know how to fix it. We want it to go away, especially things like this that, can cause some scare. You're afraid to get suspended. If you've been suspended before, you don't want to get suspended again. Is this going to be my last suspension? Are they shutting me down? Those fears are real, nobody wants to lose their income. It's like the fear of going to work and getting fired,
Yeah. I've seen people who have, been suspended for 2 weeks, and it was a pain in the butt, and they had lawyer fees, and you don't have any business for 2 weeks, etc. And it's over, like $100 worth of stuff. And you're going, okay, was that worth it? No.
Yeah.
Not. So I want to talk about IP alerts really quick. I do have, again, a link down below with all the Chrome IP alert extensions if you want to quickly go to that to navigate. I don't think it really matters which IP alert you run, but an IP alert is a good thing to start running when you're sourcing to kind of see if the brand gets flagged or not.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. The main one was IP alert. I use AMZ IP inspection. I don't know if it's still around to be bought, because it wasn't on the Chrome when I was looking up extensions for this video. But what you need to know about all of these extensions is they're kind of crowdsourced. They're pulling information from what people are giving them. They're not going to the brands and saying, hey, do you issue IP complaints? They're seeing what sellers are doing, and they're crowdsourcing that information.
And you usually have to submit your proof of it, because I know on my IP alert that I have, just for the heck of it, I recently just did this. I put that I wanted to report, I don't even know what brand it was on the site. I just wanted to see how does it work. So I put, that I wanted to report that this brand, filed an IP alert against me to see how does it work. And it wanted me to submit. It didn't just accept it like, oh, this brand accepts, issued IP alert. It wanted me to submit the proof. So I think that's why a lot of times when you see the little, yellow or red flashing ball, it will say unverified or verified. And so it's the verified ones that obviously are legit, because they expect you have to submit proof in order for them to accept it.
That's good to know. When we're talking about this one, if you just submitted that as proof, that is not a verified IP complaint. That's just a warning letter.
And I think that's when they end up with that little flashing yellow. It's like the green, yellow, and red. So I think that probably gives you that yellow warning on the IP alert, and the red ones are because they're verified. And usually there's a date, like verified, 2019, or so you can see if it's current, if it's old.
What IP extension do you use?
I don't recall. I will put it also down below for you, and it may be IP alert that you have up there. I've had it for quite some time, so I don't recall.
Yeah. This company, Thompson and Holt, this is what their webpage looks like. They have a list of all the high-risk brands. So let's say you want to start sourcing, I don't know, e.l.f. makeup. And you're like, well, I don't know if e.l.f. makeup is a high-risk brand or not. And I don't really want to pay for an IP alert right now. I'm just starting off selling. They have a list of all the brands that are considered high risk. So I put their link down below. It's good to bookmark so that when you're outsourcing, you don't get caught up in some of these brands. Really good resource to have on hand. This is Ed's group, Ed Rosenberg, who, anyhow, I like the content, whether you like the guy or don't like the guy. I really feel like framing his IP messages and sending it to him, but I won't poke him. This is his group right here, Amazon Seller Performance Suspensions Right Owner Legal Issues, ASGTG. They help out a lot of sellers here. So if you are having trouble, I would strongly recommend joining this group. It has probably been the number one group that has helped me learn about IP issues. People will post sometimes plans of actions or look over your plan of action or recommend sources for you to go to. So really, really valuable. Absolutely love the resources in this group. Now, with that, he did post right here. And again, I've got this email down below, so you can go and copy that. If you are in the reselling business, before you sell any item, you can email them and put the brand in the subject. You will get a return email with all the occurrences of the brand in their Telegram, I don't know, for the past 6 or 7 years. I'm not in Telegram, so thought about joining that, but like I don't need any more apps on my phone.
Between Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and
Yes.
YouTube and Facebook, it gets to be a lot.
Right. So you now have a high risk brand list to go with to look your brand up there. You can email this guy, or I'm sure it's his team, it's not him, but you can email this search at ASGTG and see if they have any occurrences of IP issues before you get into a product. Now, this is huge, and it allows you to do 2 things for free.
Yeah.
That could save you a lot of time or money. Now, let's say you are in super deep water, super deep. This is my lawyer. I have absolutely loved throughout the years. She has helped me out in many cases. Her husband writes plans of action. I haven't really had to use him as a resource, but Casey has gotten me out of sticky IP complaints 3 or 4 times and has been amazing doing it. With Altig, let me see here. Did I put? Nope, I didn't. But down below, I believe I put his website as well. Ed's website has a list of other lawyers and the platform where you could go sell your Amazon business and pretty much any legit resource in the legal sense on his website. So I have his website always bookmarked as well, because if I ever did need more lawyers or, something like that, at least I know where to go find them. I wouldn't be going to Facebook and be like, hey, recommend me a lawyer. No, he has legit lawyers on there. Casey is on his list as well. I don't think I found her that way. I don't remember how I found her. It was when I was in a hairball situation and I was looking for an e-commerce lawyer specifically for IP complaints.
Yeah.
And she has helped me out with that, and trademark complaints, which are different than IP complaints, but
yes.
similar in getting them taken care of, similar format. So I would highly recommend her. I don't want to say prices because prices keep changing, but she was affordable for somebody that was small like me.
Yeah. I've won most of mine myself. There's a couple that stayed on my account for the 180 days before they fell off, but they were under the category of suspected IP links, like without a test buy. So those are less worrisome, but you certainly don't want to get a lot of them. But I can tell you, it's amazing how much some of these companies will work with you. And then there's others that hire these third-party companies that refuse to answer your emails. Like they will not answer them. And so that can be more aggravating. I've gone to LinkedIn to reach out to these companies acting like I want to be a customer of theirs. Like I've gone through lengths to get to these other parties, and they're usually a UK-based company. Those are much more frustrating because they just won't answer you back. And I'll screenshot and show Amazon, I've emailed them 3 times. They're not responding to me. I've done those tactics. When it's legitimate companies, like for instance, I had an issue with Kellogg's. I was selling a Pop-Tart bundle that had 3 flavors of Pop-Tarts that somebody else had created this listing, and Kellogg's really started coming after everybody. I went so far as to getting a hold of the legal department at Kellogg. Like, I will call everybody,
Yep.
I
You
got
have
that
to
one
be
taken off.
like a dog with a bone, man. You've got to be on it.
Not only did I get it taken off, I asked him, is there a way that I can actually buy directly from Kellogg, or do you have an authorized distributor that you can recommend to me that I can buy Kellogg from directly? I mean, so I thought, while I have you on the phone and you're removing this for me, can I buy this from you? Because there's always can be an opportunity in even these terrible things that happen. I try to find an opportunity in all of it. And I was not able to get that. However, before COVID, he said that they actually did do that, and he said I could have applied. He says, but with COVID, and of course this was a year and a half ago that I encountered this with Kellogg. He said, but now with COVID and food supply issues, he says we are now not doing that anymore. And I thought, man, had I had I got caught with this Pop-Tart bundle before all this, I could have maybe been buying from Kellogg. So take these IP complaints. Like, if you get a hold of the lawyers of the companies, I had another one with a coffee company in San Francisco, and I just Googled who the lawyer was for the company that was
Mhm.
issuing me this IP complaint. And I called their law offices, and I talked to the lawyer on the phone for a good 20-25 minutes. And she was very forthcoming with me and very informative, giving me information about things. And she says, look, she's like, we don't want to put people out of business. We just have to protect our brand. She was happy to remove the complaint. She even called me and followed up. So a lot of these companies, they're not as scary and as intimidating as it might seem. I mean, like I said, I called a small coffee company's lawyer in San Francisco, and I called the legal team at Kellogg's, and even they were helpful. So, don't be too afraid to call these people.
For sure. Definitely, definitely. Well, I hope this is cleared up for everybody who is kind of wondering, I received this message. What do I do? What do I do? It's going to depend. And if you just ask a very generic question out there in the eBay world that has in the Amazon world, that's going to have a lot of gray area, you're going to get some people that say, ignore, delete, ignore, delete. And that is good advice if it meets that criteria. But if it's got any teeth to it, you may want to take some of these extra steps. And you definitely want to take some extra steps to make sure that you are sourcing from brands that are not going to issue you IP complaints and really mess up your day and possibly get you suspended.
Yeah.
So thank you everybody for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe the video if you learned anything. And once again, if you are not a subscriber of Tina's channel, go subscribe to her. We're trying to get her up to 1,000, members? 1,000 viewers, 1,000 subscribers.
Yes, 1,000 subscribers I need, and I am just barely over 100, I think.
Yes. So
got quite a ways to go.
perfect. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.